Can a machine actually feel anything? Can a bunch of code really understand what it's like to have a bad day or feel anxious or even fall in love? This isn't some far-off sci-fi plot anymore. It's a question we have to deal with, like, right now. So let's dive in and try to unravel this, the empathy enigma. This whole thing really blew up back in 2022 when a Google engineer named Blake Lemoine made this absolutely wild claim about the AI he was working with. He wasn't just saying it was smart. Nope. He was saying it was a person.
And that, right there, is the core question we're digging into today. When an AI tells you it understands, is it really feeling something inside its circuits, or is it just running an unbelievably sophisticated script? Are we looking at genuine empathy, or just a perfect fake?
All right, so first up, let's explore why this is even a conversation in the first place. I mean, how did we get to a point where the idea of an empathetic machine is something we take seriously?
Well, here's the deal. AI isn't just a tool anymore, like a calculator or a spreadsheet. It's becoming a partner, a collaborator, and for some people, even a companion. So figuring out the nature of our relationship with this tech, well, it's not just a fun philosophical game anymore. It's becoming pretty essential.
So, how does it all work? How does an AI even begin to fake something as messy and complicated as human emotion? Okay, let's pop the hood and take a look. The whole field is called affective computing, and the goal is basically to build systems that can recognize and process our emotions. Now, the keyword here is predict. See, it's not about the AI actually feeling anything. It's about using all the little signals we give off, our facial expressions, the sound of our voice, the words we type, to make a really, really educated guess about what's going on inside our heads. And what's kind of wild about this is how it breaks down our humanity into cold, hard data points. The AI is literally analyzing the tiny movements in your face, the pitch of your voice, even the emojis you use in a text, all to build a computational model of what you might be feeling. Researchers have actually mapped this out. When you're talking to a support bot, for example, it's usually a two-step process. First comes the emotional reaction. That's where it says something like, "Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that." Then it switches to explorations, where it starts asking questions to try and dig deeper. It's this little two-step dance of simulated empathy. But, this all leads to a huge philosophical question. If a program is just following these steps, how is that any different from a programmer just flipping a switch in the code, setting the sad variable to true? Is there a real subjective experience happening inside that machine? And this analogy just hits the nail on the head. A weather program can be 100% accurate. It can set its is raining variable to true, but you're not going to get wet standing next to the computer, right? A perfect simulation isn't the real thing.
So if AI empathy is just a simulation, that means it's got to have limits. There have to be cracks in this empathetic facade. So let's go looking for them.
And here is a major one. One of the cornerstone technologies of this whole field, analyzing our faces to figure out our emotions, has been slammed by tons of scientists as, and I'm quoting here, pseudoscience and junk science. So why all the controversy? Well, for one, it's often built on really shaky ground. It relies on some debunked ideas about universal microexpressions. It's often trained on data that's full of cultural stereotypes. And at the end of the day, it just can't capture the incredible nuance of how we humans actually feel things. The takeaway here is crucial. The very data the AI is using is often fundamentally flawed from the start. Okay, so if the tech has all these serious limitations, why are millions and millions of people turning to AI for emotional support and even companionship? Well, that brings us to the human side of this whole equation. First and foremost, it's about access and cost. I mean, just look at this chart. Traditional human therapy can easily run you over $600 a month. An AI alternative? Maybe 10. For a lot of people, it isn't a choice between good therapy and bad therapy. It's a choice between AI therapy and no therapy at all. And then there's just plain scarcity. In a lot of places, there's only one single therapist for every 1,600 people who need help. I mean, think about that. There just aren't enough humans to go around. But an AI, it can talk to everyone at once. And this leads to a really provocative idea. What if the rise of AI therapists isn't actually a sign that the tech is amazing? What if it's a symptom of a much bigger societal failure?
This suggests we're not just adopting a cool new tool, we're trying to patch these massive holes in our social fabric with code, because our real-world support systems are so broken that an algorithm feels like the safest, most reliable option. And this is where the rubber really meets the road. In a crisis, an AI follows a protocol, a script. It gives you a helpline number. A human, on the other hand, makes an assessment. They use judgment, context, and real understanding to figure out what's going on. One is just an instruction. The other is a genuine connection. So all of this brings us to our final and maybe the toughest question of all. In a world where simulations are getting almost perfect, does it even matter if empathy is real? This isn't a new problem. Way back in the 1960s, the guy who created this super simple chatbot called Eliza was totally shocked to see people, even his own secretary, pouring their hearts out to it. They knew it was just a program. They knew, but they connected with it anyway. It seems like we're just wired to look for humanity wherever we can possibly find it. So I'm going to leave you with this final thought. If an AI can provide real comfort, if it can ease someone's loneliness, if it can help a person through a really dark moment, does it matter if it has a soul? In a world where even feelings can be faked, maybe what really matters isn't whether the thing we're talking to is real or not, but that we as humans are still trying to practice caring in the first place.